Welcome back. In this lesson we're going to make this monoprinted autumn tree. First things first, we're going to learn about a few different things. Number one, monoprinting. Monoprinting is a printing process where the artist makes only one unique print. So each of our leaves are going to be one unique little print that nobody else's will look the same. No one else's, you won't even be able to do the same yourself because each time you'll be applying the paint in a new way. We're going to learn about color mixing because on each of your leaves you're going to have at least 2 colors, if not 3, and you'll be able to mix the colors right on your printing plate to kind of create that unique monoprinting. And the last one is repetition. Repetition is when you repeat something but you don't make a pattern. So here we've repeated this same leaf idea but we haven't made a pattern. So we're going to be using repetition, color, and monoprinting. Alright, so to get started, everyone's going to need one piece of this blue paper. You're going to take a pencil and put your name on the back. I'm going to put Mr. Lundgren. You put your name. And then put your teacher's grade, or your grade rather, and your teacher's name. Okay, then you're going to flip your paper over so you have a nice clean sheet of paper. Of course mine's dirty now. I'm going to turn it this way so I can use that brown. You're also going to need one monoprinting sheet. It's going to look like this. It'll have a leaf drawn on it. It's a piece of plastic. You can see through it. And you can use either side of it for your monoprinting. In fact, you can switch back and forth so that you can have this stem going different ways if you'd like. Okay? You're going to need a palette, your 1/4-inch easel brush, little bitty cup of water, and your cup for dirty water and a cup for clean water. And you're going to want to have some paper towels at your seat to wipe your brush on because you don't want to use a lot of water to clean your brush off. So I'm just going to set this one down here so we can still see it. Now, to get started, you're going to do at least 3 if not 4 leaves. If we look back at my example here, I've got 4 leaves. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to put this tree on in the back later after we get done with the first leaves. So you're going to first of all need to get some paint. These are the colors that we're going to use. You're going to have some red, orange, yellow, and notice how I lay those out so the warm colors are all on one side. Now I'm going to have some green, some brown, and some white. And I'd like you to lay your palette out like this. Try to have all the colors separate so that you can use them independently without getting them all mixed up on your palette. We're going to mix them on our monoprinting plate. Okay, so now I'm going to make sure my brush is nice and dry. Okay, and I'm going to start with green. Okay, I'm just going to grab a scoop of green here. I'm going to paint it right on top of my monoprinting plate. Kind of stay in the lines the best I can. And I'm going to lay it on. You can see how I'm taking a thick blob of it and laying it on in between the lines. You do not want your brush to be wet at this point. You want it to be very dry because you don't want the water going all over the place. Then I'm going to dry my brush off. Notice how I wipe it on the paper towel to get it dry. And I'm going to scoop up some yellow. This is our leaf that hasn't yet begun to change. And I'm going to paint that in. And I'm going to take these areas here and I'm going to just blend them back and forth so we have a mixed up color right there on the leaf. I'm going to dry off my brush, get all the paint off of it, grab a little bit of brown for the stem, just lay a little line on the stem like that. Okay, I'm going to set my brush aside and take my monoprinting plate and flip it over so that the paint side is down. And you'll actually see all the little lines on our leaf now. And now I'm going to print it up here. I'm just going to set it down. And I'm going to imagine that my branch is here, like on my other one. And I'm going to have this one hanging off the branch. I'm going to set it down and just gently take one finger and kind of smooth it down. You can see how as I smooth it, the paint kind of squishes around. You can kind of try to control the way that you're squishing it. And then when you're done, you have to peel it off without smearing it. Okay, now there's our first leaf, and this is what our print plate's going to look like when you're done. At this point, you're going to want to take a paper towel and you're going to want to kind of try to, the best you can, clean it off without making too much of a mess. I'm just going to take this one sheet and I'm just going to kind of swipe it, fold it, swipe it, fold it, and swipe it. That's a half piece of paper towel. You want to get it fairly clean. Okay. Then notice I'm leaving my brown stem because I'm just going to put a little bit more brown on there. But I'm going to take this and just edge it out so that there's a nice curve and it's not so smushy. Just like that. Alright, there you go. Now we're going to do our next leaf. I'm going to take some yellow. And of course I didn't wash my brush off very well, so I got a bunch of brown on there. Let me get that off. Okay, here we go, back to the yellow. Going to fill in this side of the leaf with the yellow. Remember, I didn't even wash my brush yet. Okay, if your brush gets really nasty and has got a bunch of different colors on it, you can wash it, but make sure that you really dry it well. Okay, you want to dry it off really well so that you don't have water gloobering all over the place. Here's my old paper towel. I'm just going to fold it in half so I can continue to use it. Okay, and I'm going to grab some orange and paint that on the other side of this leaf. And blend those colors together. There we go. Now, you're going to take this one and put it somewhere else. I'm going to put it right here, and I'm going to kind of overlap it a little bit. Oops, I didn't put brown on the stem. Here we go, a little brown on the stem. Good. And I'm going to put that right up here. And if you overlap them, it should be alright. But I'm just going to have it kind of like this so it's not too overlapped. Just take my finger and smear it down again, trying to control how much I push down. Okay, peeling it off for my second leaf. Okay, go back to cleaning my leaf off. Going to the third leaf here, I'm going to take some, there's my dry brush now, get some red. And notice how I'm just using these colors. I've got plenty of paint still, and I just have one little blob on each bit of paint. Notice this time I went out of my lines a little bit more, getting a little bold and brave. Wipe off the red, get some orange. A little brown for the stem. Okay, set my brush aside. I'm going to flip this one up so it's like on the top of the branch. I'm going to have to kind of twist it to fit it in. I'll go like this. It's going to go off my page just a little bit, but I'm okay with that. We'll work it. Okay. Peel it off. There's my third leaf. I'm going to just use this without wiping it off and add a little bit more orange onto here for my fourth leaf. So I'm kind of just using what's there already because I've got quite a bit on. Add a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow in the middle here. Okay, set my brush aside. I'm just going to reshape this a little bit. If you have one like this and you just want to kind of swipe a little bit of it off, I would suggest using a paper towel, but if you have a paper towel sitting next to you, you can use that too. And here we go, my last one. I'm going to put it down here so it looks like it's falling off the tree. Set it down, gently squish it. There's my last leaf. Okay, now I'm going to take my leaf template here and wipe it off all the way. If we have time, you can use just a little bit of wet paper towel to wipe it off, and that would be really nice for the next person, because then it's going to be nice and clean. I don't want these over at the sink though with like oodles and oodles of water all over them, because then the next person is going to have it too wet. So just take a little damp paper towel and dry that off. Okay, and that's fairly clean. By the next session it will be able to be used again. So just make sure it's dry, and we'll collect those separately. Okay, now it's time for our branches. This time I'm just going to use my brush. I'm going to just grab the paint here, and I'm going to try to be really loose. I'm going to just drag it kind of up the edge here and do like a branch coming out this way and the trunk going up that way. Okay, I'm going to make it loose and flowy. I'm going to add a little bit of white in, add a little bit more brown in, make it go all the way off the bottom of your page, and make it go all the way up off the top of your page. Gonna paint around my leaf here so it looks like it's overlapping. Okay, so there's that tree. Now I'm going to take one last little wipe and kind of put in a little teeny cloud in the background. So it looks like an autumn day with just little clouds in the background. Okay, now once you're done, you're going to clean up all your supplies. Remember, wash your brush out at the sink with a pump of soap, whoever's in charge of the brushes. Whoever is in charge of the pallets, remember you take the entire pallet over to the garbage and dump it out. Please do not squish your pallet together and make a mess. Okay? At the end, you can set this into the drying rack and let it dry. And that's how we finish our monoprinted tree using a printing process known as monoprinting, where you only make one unique print, and using the repetition of those color mixing of warm colors and fall colors to make our monoprinted autumn tree.